Welcome back into the 143. We're back under review, episode 44.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are at episode number 44. Another action-packed week of football.
A disappointing week for the Cowboys, which we will talk about. I wish I could tell you there was something new we had to say about that, but this is kind of what we've been seeing for the last 25 years or so, and it looks like nothing's really changed, but we'll get into that. Nick, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. Obviously, this will be a fun one up until the part where we get to talk about the Cowboys, but
It was an interesting week other than that.
yes, absolutely.
We finally had some action, let's just say that. And you know what? Let's just jump into it because we do have a lot to unpack for y'all today. First of all, I just got to say it's just great to have y'all in. Great to have y'all listening right now. If you could just give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, share us with your friends, or if you don't have friends, share us with strangers. I mean, it doesn't really matter to us who's listening.
Just get us out there.
Please.
I don't care who you tell.
Just anybody you feel like telling. Just let them know that you are listening to the greatest sports podcast of all time. Now, stat of the week brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. This is a sad stat for y'all, but previously, before Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys, when entering the fourth quarter, up by 14 points or more, were 195-0.
Of course, they had to show that stat to jinx it.
Now,
of course.
Now they are 195-1. Because they came into the fourth quarter ahead by 14 points at Green Bay and lost in overtime, 31-28. We will unpack that in a second, but that is your stat of the week.
Quite unfortunate, but your player of the week is Mr. Justin Jefferson, who actually made
Beast mode.
a catch of the year candidate. I think we can just go ahead and say catch of the year.
It's
10 receptions. 1 receiving touchdown, and 193 yards.
Just wish he could have gotten 7 more just to make that a nice crisp 200, I'll be honest with you.
Yes, absolutely.
He played amazing.
He
Phenomenal.
ultimately saved the game, right? Because if he doesn't
He's the
make
reason
that
they won.
outstanding acrobatic catch, well, they would go on to lose. But Justin Jefferson just says, I don't think so, and just mossed the defender. Said, this is my house, and then they go on to win the game.
A lot of people are saying he's the number 1 receiver in the league. Do you agree or disagree? Because there are a lot of good receivers. I don't know if he's signified his place as the number 1 yet. Obviously, he's the number 1 on his team.
That is extremely
and he's the number 1 in
difficult because I feel there's a lot of players that you could take as the number 1 receiver in the league. I don't think it's Devontae Adams
I feel
anymore.
comfortable putting Justin Jefferson as the number 1 player, number 1 receiver in the NFC. But the AFC,
I think there's a case to be made for Tyreek Hill being better.
Definitely, yeah. Right now, Tyreek Hill's the best in the league. He's leading in yards.
I think as of right now, no. Justin Jefferson is not the best
right.
receiver in the league. But that does not take away from the talent
He's
that
amazing.
this kid has.
I mean, he's player of the week, so
and he's
obviously
so young. So
to make it
he has got
into
years ahead of him.
when we give someone player of the week, it's not just like a random podcast saying this player is good. This is under review, highlighting him for his performance. Honestly, whether or not he makes it into the Hall of Fame, he'll always have this.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that he can take comfort in that.
He can look back on this moment and say, I made it.
And that's really all he needs. Like, he could retire
Absolutely.
tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. And he'd be good. All right. Let's jump into the Cowboys game. Let's get that over with so we can talk some other games. But I mean, there's not really much we could say other than the fact that I think Dak has proven time and time again that when you put him in a situation where he needs to be clutch, he had multiple drives in the fourth quarter, and he won the coin toss in overtime and got the ball first, and Dak couldn't get it done. And there's nobody to blame, all right? There's no Mike McCarthy. I mean, obviously, Mike McCarthy's not the most amazing coach in the world, but Mike McCarthy's not playing quarterback.
Dak is at least put in positions where he can be the man, be the guy of the hour, and make the play and obviously clutch up and be the hero, but time and time again, we've seen him fall short, and obviously, ultimately, that's what he did in Green Bay. Because, I mean, like you said, I mean, who even cares that we blew that lead? At the end of the day, we won the coin toss in overtime. We were driving down the field, and then we just got shut down.
I think it's just Dak being Dak, and at this point, I'm sorry, but name one time since his rookie year that he's like clutched up in a big situation.
I mean, not really.
And maybe in a couple like no-name regular season games.
Yeah, random regular season games. But
Sunday was a playoff atmosphere at Lambeau in prime time, and he folded. And we saw him fold last year in the playoffs and against, like the Raiders in kind of the same situation. So I think it's time to start looking for the next quarterback. That's what I think.
I mean, as much as I love Dak, like I love the guy, he's
a good dude.
He continues to disappoint on the field.
Well, it's just what is our bar? Even though we've been losing for 26 years, are the Dallas Cowboys the biggest brand in sports? Like the bar is championship or bust.
Absolutely.
That's why every year we get made fun of because we didn't win a Super Bowl. There are
30 other teams that
don't win a Super Bowl every year, but the Cowboys get the most flack for not winning. So Dak's just proven that he's not capable of leading the team honestly past the second round of playoffs. So that's what my biggest takeaway. I know the defense gave up a lot in the fourth quarter, but the defense was tired. I mean, our defense has shown that they're really good.
The problem with the defense is, like you said, they're tired, and that comes from the offense, right? Because the offense will go 3 and out, and our defense just gets no rest in between series because there's like a minute and a half, and then boom, they have to be back on the field again because the offense can't move the football.
And we have one of the worst run defenses in the league. But I think that goes right back to the fact that the defense is on the field. The run is what wears the defense down. It's not the pass. When they're just getting pounded every single play. So if they're tired, the run game's going to get better for the other team. And I think that our defense has shown that they're the best unit on the team out of all 3 units. And I mean, I think they got worn down on Sunday because they're on the field a lot. Should they make plays? Yeah, they should. I mean, they're in the NFL, so there's no excuse there.
I mean, the offense just has to be like, help me, help you, right? If you stay on the field and give good drives, well, then your defense is more likely to make stops and get turnovers and give you the ball back. But the problem is, like we said, our defense is just constantly tired.
There is one player on the defense that is really bad, and it's Anthony Brown. And I'm not just saying he's really bad because I don't like him, but his stats show he's one of the worst corners in the league right now. And the fact that quarterbacks just throw in his direction because they either get a pass interference call or he gives up a big catch.
Well, and the other thing is, it doesn't matter who is going up against Anthony Brown, whether it's Christian Watson, who's a bum. And I still think he is a bum, even though he had a great game this week, or it's Devontae Adams or whatever.
He looked like Devontae Adams.
They just make him look like a loser, and it's time and time again, I just wish we would cut Anthony Brown.
I think it's time to find another corner and move on from Anthony Brown.
I'm always astounded that he has a job. It baffles me that he is in the NFL.
It is quite the conundrum. I will say also, though, Mike McCarthy, it was no doubt that he was going to put us in a situation to win because this is the only game I've ever seen Mike McCarthy coach with a fire behind him because it's his team that fired him. He wanted that revenge game, and he came out ready to go. And I will say, hat off to him. He put us in a position to win. I think that if you're going to point the blame at one person, it's got to be Dak. You've got to get the job done. You have tons of weapons.
I loved the idea of going for it. I had no issue with us going for it on 4th and 4.
I think that's what you had to do in that situation.
Obviously, maybe you would run it on 3rd and 4.
Should have,
because if you were knowing that you were going to go for it on 4th down, maybe try and chip off some yardage. I guess another thing was we did shoot ourselves in the foot twice, actually, in overtime, right? We got a holding call, and then we got an offside call on Jalen Tolbert because he doesn't know how to line up on the football.
He didn't know how to line up, and it was just I think Sunday was just, in all honesty, classic Dallas Cowboys football. Penalties, poor quarterback play, and getting beat over the top. That's just what happened on Sunday. It was disappointing because the Green Bay game we've been looking forward to for a long time now.
Well, because this was such a winnable game. Like, this
It
is a very,
Green
very
Bay's defense was injured.
weak Packers team.
They're depleted, and we still let them beat us. We made Aaron Rodgers look young again, and it was sad. Like, the Commanders and the Lions have both beat the Packers this year.
Absolutely. And if
And
they
we
can,
didn't.
if you get beat by the Lions, then that means that anyone can beat you,
Except us.
except us apparently.
But we're gonna move off this topic now. Like we said, nothing new to say there. The Cowboys need a rebuild on the quarterback. Like, we need a new quarterback, and probably head coach. But let's move on to a more exciting game. Not really exciting, other than the fact that the Eagles finally lost to the Commanders. And I think it's what Nick and I have been saying all season. I'll let Nick take lead on this one, but
Obviously, we kept looking at the Eagles' schedule, trying to figure out down the road what is going to be the game that ruins their
they have an
perfect season.
easy schedule.
I can't say I was predicting that it would be the Commanders
I was not either.
at home, but for some reason, Taylor Heineke just loves to come up huge in situations.
The weirdest moments.
Yeah, where he is under the lights, but he just plays with this undying fire. Like, if he
I
does
love
not,
Taylor Heineke.
like if he does not get the job done, like, they're gonna cut him from the team as soon as the fourth quarter ends.
He's something else. Like, and Carson Wentz is coming back tomorrow. I still think Taylor Heineke should keep the job.
Absolutely.
He's proven he
a lot of
deserves
people
it.
are getting mad about that call, that roughing the passer call at the end. In my eyes, that was absolutely the right call by the refs.
It was definitely the right call. It's
mean,
not a,
he was like 10 feet away when Taylor Heineke took a knee, and he still pursued him and kind of. Obviously, he did try and slow down, but, like, you can't hit the quarterback 5 seconds.
You don't
after
love
the
to
play's
see
over.
the game end like that. Like, it's not exciting, and it's kind of boring, but it is a rule. And it was Brandon Graham, who's been in the league for 13 years now. He knows the rules. He was pretty
Yeah.
disappointed with himself after the game. It was just one of those things. But I think here's what we see. Okay, this is the first time that the Eagles were trailing coming into the second half. I think that Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles were exposed last night because it's like we've been saying. The Eagles and Jalen Hurts specifically rely on the run game, right, to keep them going. Well, when you're trailing coming into the fourth quarter, you can't run the ball as much. You have to start throwing. And Jalen Hurts showed last night that when he's behind trailing, he is now 2-10 when trailing into the fourth quarter. He's not a come-from-behind quarterback, so they have to get up big in the first half. Every team they've played this year, they'll score a crazy amount in the first half, and then they'll slow way down in the second. And last night, when they needed to score in the second half, they could not get anything going.
The time of possession was also extremely lopsided, obviously in favor of the Commanders.
Washington did a really good job.
They were able to possess the ball for the majority of the game, but they also finished drives pretty well. Obviously, at the beginning, it was a little bit shaky, right? Like, they got thrown a bone literally the first drive of the game with the roughing the kicker call.
Yep.
And then
he
the strip
fumbled.
sack fumble, literally the next play. And then the Eagles would end up going down and scoring. But after that, I felt like the offense for the Commanders played extremely well.
Taylor Heineke settled into
He
a
was
rhythm.
finding Terry McLaurin
McLaurin went
and
off.
Curtis Samuel. Like, he just seemed comfortable back there. He was throwing great balls. The receivers were getting open. And I feel like Brian Robinson as well.
Brian
played a
Robinson was
huge
phenomenal.
role. Like, he was able to help get the run game going. And that ultimately, I think, led to their success. Like, he had I remember two extremely powerful runs. Obviously, the touchdown where he's carrying the guy and he just sticks his arm over the goal line. And then the one where he gets the first down, carrying
He
six
carried
dudes.
the entire Eagles team on his back.
After he carried them for 6 yards. It was insane.
So he's been coming back. So he before the season started got shot twice in the leg. 6 weeks later, was back practicing with the team, and he's played 3 or 4 games now, and he's coming alive. He's a rookie, really good, and he's just showing he's got some incredible talent at the running back position. But all in all, I think obviously the Commanders, they did a good job of controlling the clock. I think more the takeaway from the game last night is that's the blueprint on how to beat the Eagles. Control the clock, keep them off the field, because when you force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball instead of being able to hand it off or rely on his legs,
It's not going to happen.
he shows that he's not that guy. And I think that's exactly what happened last night. When he needed to throw, he couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, like those 2 deep balls that he threw. Obviously, the big one was the one to A.J. Brown into double coverage.
Not smart.
Ultimately, A.J. Brown had it, and then it got stripped, but he shouldn't have been put in that situation because
He was already hurt.
He was in double coverage,
He's also hurt.
right? And then the Quez Watkins catch, where he was wide open, falls down, but he gets back up and then fumbles the football, which that was pretty huge for the Commanders, and they managed to take advantage of every little
Mistake.
every little mistake that the Eagles were making. So I think that is also how you can help yourself beat the Eagles, right? They got a lot of turnovers. I think they had more in that game than they had all season long, which was huge.
I think blueprint, force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. Force him to throw, take the run game away like they did last night. Great job by Washington. And I think Taylor Heinicke is in the starting job for the rest of the year. Moving on now, we need to talk about this game. Special announcement. So the Bills lost yesterday in overtime to the Vikings. Shocker. Like it shocked everyone. Mm-hmm. I think now it's important to bring up the AFC East standings. The Dolphins are now first in the division. And I did call it. I did. And I think that I just need to take a second just to, I deserve some props here. The season's not over. I'm not saying it's over. Okay, I know we're 10 games in.
It is definitely not over.
It's not over. But right now, good job, Dolphins, taking first place in the division. I think that
Sure.
Nick needs to at least acknowledge that.
I mean,
I was kind of right.
First.
Thank you. Okay.
I mean, if the season ended today, absolutely you would be right, but there's many
still,
more weeks ahead.
Still 7 weeks, I think. Yeah, 7. But the game itself, I think Kirk Cousins, Jettas played great. We're not going to talk for a really long time about the game because we need to go into our fantasy segment. But I think the biggest thing that I saw is Josh Allen is showing that he might not be great in clutch situations either.
I was about to say the same thing, right? Obviously, he's been, I think in all 3 losses, it's been kind of not necessarily up to him, but he's had a chance to be the guy at the end of the game, and he's ultimately coming short. I mean, obviously, he threw the pick in overtime, which, that sealed the game right there last night.
In every game, he's made a throw that ends the game.
Yeah.
In every loss, sorry, not in every game. He's shown that he's really good when they're up 21 points. But so is Dak. Josh Allen is an amazing quarterback, but he needs to show that he can be good in clutch situations. Because when last year in the playoffs, they beat the Patriots 41-3 or whatever the score was.
Yeah.
Then they go up against the Chiefs, and in a game going back and forth, in the end, Josh Allen his team choked and he choked.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he choked as much in the Chiefs game, but it's just showing that in games when they need him, he hasn't been showing up.
It's just at the end, right?
It's
Whenever
close games.
he needs to drive down the field and take control of the game, he just can't. And I really don't know what it is because the talent is there. He has the skill set to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he just constantly falls short. Whenever the pressure is on him the hardest and when the lights shine the brightest, he seems to be not there.
I think, though, the Bills will be still a threat in the playoffs. I mean, it's not like they're going anywhere. They lost a game, and they'll be back next week. But, yeah, just keep an eye on Josh Allen and his ability to clutch up in situations like that. Real quick, before we run into the fantasy thing, I just want to say Nick and I have been spot on in a couple of things, and one thing is Brady is now 2-0 in the month of November. We said he was going to come alive. He's starting to look really good. And he's leading his team to a couple victories. So I think we need to be on the lookout for Brady.
They beat the
Coming back.
Seahawks in Munich, Germany.
Munich.
Munich, whatever. I believe that makes him, is that 2-0 since
2-0.
the divorce? Trading one ring for another. Props to my boy Tom Brady showing up.
He's come alive. I'll give him that. And just keep an eye out for him. This is when he shines the brightest because the season, we're past
Absolutely.
the halfway point.
The
And-
more it nears the end, the more GOAT-esque he plays.
Playoff push is real for Tom Brady. So
Absolutely.
keep an eye on that. All right.
Especially with how weak the NFC South is, or NFC South is.
Yeah. Worst
right?
division in the NFC.
Okay.
All right. So actually, it might not be the worst. NFC North is pretty bad, other than the Vikings. Okay. Moving on. So fantasy. Nick, take it away.
Okay, so in fantasy this week, I would say it has been a better week than it has been. For the most part, the stars showed up. One big thing, I think, was the people that took a gamble on Justin Fields because he ended up getting 39 points. I believe he had 4 total touchdowns that game. Unfortunately for the Bears, they lost 30-31 against the Lions. CeeDee Lamb showed out pretty huge. He got like 38 points. And then Christian Kirk, he had been a below average receiver for the most part. And then he came out with 2 touchdowns. So I know a lot of people that had been sitting on Christian Kirk for a while had to be pretty happy because he finally had himself a good week.
Yeah, I agree. Christian Kirk did come out, play really well. That's an Aggie right there. Got to give him a lot of props. There weren't a whole lot of surprises. I will say things to keep in mind. Cup's out now for about a month. Cooper Kupp. Goddard's now out for an extended period of time for the Eagles. So just keep an eye on those injuries. Really nothing crazy to add. The receivers that needed to pop off, they popped off, except for A.J. Brown, who also kind of got hurt last night. I think you just keep doing what you're doing. Keep an eye on those waiver wires. I know they're very not
It
not
is
plentiful.
very dry out there. Obviously, Christian Watson had a huge game, but I do not see that continuing.
Look for him to get more targets, though, because he earned Aaron's trust a little bit more, and he'll be throwing the ball in his direction.
Side note, since we're talking about Aaron and Christian Watson, dude, just let the kid have his glory for like 1 second.
I know.
Aaron Rodgers just comes out and kind of underhand compliments him, you know. He
Kinda
like
criticizes him more than
makes it sound
compliments
like
him.
he's complimenting him, but it's kind of like a backhand or
He
whatever.
said there's been drops. We need to work on those. Like he didn't catch
It's like, dude,
3 balls for
he
like
clutched
160
up
yards.
for you in this game. Like, let him have his moment. He played the game of his life. Stop trying to take it away from him. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I agree. Christian Watson had a great game, and Aaron Rodgers is
He just has to make it about him,
he's
right? Like,
he's
it
one
can't
of those
it can't
guys.
ever be about anyone else. It's got to be the Aaron show.
Hopefully he retires at the end of the season.
Oh my goodness.
That's what we're
Absolutely.
hoping for. Green Bay, I think if they get a couple more losses, we'll be done. So let's hope so. But yeah, for fantasy this week, keep going strong. Just look out for those injuries. If you have Cooper Kupp or Dallas Goedert, sorry.
Another person that I wanted to bring up was Juju Smith-Schuster. And actually, I guess Jerry Jeudy too. Both of those guys went out pretty early in their games with an injury. I think Jeudy had 0 and Smith-Schuster had like 5. I do believe that Smith-Schuster will be back. It was just concussion, so concussion protocol. He had to leave the game, but he did not return. And I don't know, just keep looking at those waiver wires. They are once
Finding
again
the gems because there are
very
a couple.
dry.
But yeah, that's all we got for fantasy this week.
Well, here as we like to end our shows on Under Review, I have brought to you a quote by the man Vince Lombardi. Winning is a habit. Watch your thoughts, they become your beliefs. Watch your beliefs, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Your habits become your character.
That's a good one.
That is the truth right there.
That is the truth. That's a Hall of Fame coach right there for the Packers. But nonetheless, Hall of Fame coach.
Thank you so much for listening this week.
Thank you for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week with some more football.
Absolutely.
And maybe a Cowboys win. Who
I
knows?
certainly hope so.
That would be nice. All right. We'll see y'all next week on Under Review.